Part 1. The discovery of the Grand Hall of the Vorthok Imperial Palace stretched before Captain Marcus Chen like a golden ocean. Alien nobles moved through the space like strange birds, their tall, thin bodies covered in colorful robes. Their skin was pale blue, and their eyes were large and black. Marcus had seen many alien races during his 10 years as a diplomat, but the Vorthok still made him uncomfortable. "Captain Chen," said Ambassador Zethrix, his voice like wind through metal pipes, "welcome to our humble palace. We are honored by your visit." Marcus smiled and bowed slightly. "The honor is ours, Ambassador. Earth is excited about our new friendship." The Vorthok had contacted Earth 6 months ago. They offered advanced technology in exchange for trade agreements. It seemed like a good deal. Earth needed better weapons and faster ships. The galaxy was a dangerous place for humans. "Please enjoy our feast," Zethrix said, pointing to long tables filled with strange foods. "Try our wine. It is made from fruits that grow on 7 different worlds." Marcus nodded and walked toward the tables. His team followed behind him. Lieutenant Torres, his security chief, stayed close. Dr. Williams, their science officer, looked excited about the alien technology on display. Commander Hayes, their military advisor, watched everything with careful eyes. The hall was huge. Golden. Pillars reached up to a ceiling painted with scenes of Vorthok victories. Hundreds of aliens talked and laughed. Music played from hidden speakers. Everything looked perfect and beautiful. But something was wrong. Marcus felt at first as a strange coldness in his chest. His eyes swept the room, looking for danger. The Vorthok seemed friendly enough. Their guards carried weapons, but that was normal. The food smelled good. The music was pleasant. Then he saw her in the corner of the hall, near a small fountain. Stood a human woman. She was young, maybe 25 years old. Her hair was brown and long. Her skin was pale, like she had not seen sunlight for a long time. She wore a beautiful silk dress, blue like the ocean, but around her wrists and ankles were metal bands that glowed with soft light. Energy, shackles. Marcus's blood turned to ice. He had seen those devices before, on prison worlds. They stopped people from moving too far or too fast. They caused pain if someone tried to remove them. The woman stood very still, like a statue. Her head was down, looking at the floor. But then, as if she felt his eyes on her, she looked up. Their eyes met across the crowded room. Marcus had seen many things in his years traveling the galaxy. He had seen war and peace, joy and sadness, but he had never seen eyes like hers. They were brown, like earth soil, but they held something that made his heart hurt. Hope desperate. Dying hope. Her eyes said things her mouth could not. They said, "Help me." They said, "Please don't leave me here." They said, "I am still human, still alive. Please remember me." Marcus forced himself to look away. He was a diplomat, could not show his feelings. But his hand shook as he picked up a glass of alien wine. "Ah, I see you have noticed my prize," said a voice behind him. Marcus turned. A tall Vorthok noble stood there, wearing robes of deep red. His skin was darker than the others, and his eyes had flecks of gold in them. Rings covered his long fingers, and a chain of office hung around his neck. "I am Lord Calaxia," the alien said. "Keeper of curiosities for His Imperial Majesty." "Curiosities?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Yes," Calax smiled, showing teeth like small knives. "I collect interesting things from across the galaxy. That one came from a primitive world we discovered recently. The inhabitants called it New Geneva, I believe." Marcus knew New Geneva. It was a human colony on the edge of explored space. They grew food and mined rare metals. Good people, families mostly. The colony had gone silent 8 months ago. Earth had sent search ships, but they found nothing. Now Marcus knew why. "She is quite beautiful, is she not?" Calax continued. "Her species is very emotional. They feel things deeply. Makes them entertaining to watch. Entertaining." The voice was harder than he wanted it to be. "Oh, yes," Calax laughed. "At first she tried to escape. She fought and screamed and begged. It was quite amusing, but now she has learned her place. Watch. Kleck snapped his fingers twice. Across the room, the woman's head lifted. She looked directly at Kleck's, then walked slowly toward them. Movements were strange, too careful, like someone walking on broken glass. As she came closer, Marcus could see more details that made him sick. Her dress was beautiful, but it was also a uniform. The silk was soft, but there were hidden sensors woven into it. Her hair was clean and brushed. There were small scars on her scalp where something had been attached. She stopped in front of Kallax and bowed her head. "You see," Kallax said proudly. Perfect obedience. It took months to train her properly, but the results are worth it. She can even perform simple tricks now. Tricks. Dr. Williams had joined them. His face was pale. Indeed, she can solve mathematical problems, create art, even compose music. Her brain is quite advanced for such a primitive species. Show them, pet. Lax spoke a few words in the Vorthok language. The woman knelt on the floor and began to draw patterns in the dust with her finger. The patterns were complex and beautiful, like mathematical equations made into art. "Fascinating," Kallax said. "Her species has an unusual ability to find beauty in logic. Very rare in the galaxy." Marcus watched the woman draw. Her hands were steady, but he could see the small shaking in her shoulders. Was afraid, terrified, but she was also thinking. Her eyes moved quickly, taking in details of the room, the people, the exits. She was not broken, not completely. When she finished drawing, she looked up at Kallax, then quickly at Marcus. For just a moment, her eyes met his again. This time, he saw something else there: intelligence, planning, patience. She was waiting for something, or someone. Magnificent work. "As always," Kallax said. "You may return to your place now." The woman stood and walked back to her corner. But as she walked, she passed close to Lieutenant Torres. Something small passed between them, so quick that Marcus almost missed it. "She is my greatest treasure," Kallax continued. "Several collectors have offered to buy her, but I cannot part with such a unique specimen. Perhaps when I grow tired of her, I will breed her. I understand her species reproduces quite readily." Marcus felt his hands form into fists. Commander Hayes stepped closer, sensing danger. "She seems very intelligent," Marcus said carefully. "Oh yes, too intelligent sometimes. That is what makes her valuable. A stupid pet is boring. This one still has fight in her, deep down. It makes the game more interesting." The conversation continued, but Marcus stopped listening. His mind was working, planning. He looked around the room with new eyes. How many guards? What were their weapons? Where were the exits? Lieutenant Torres caught his eye and nodded slightly. She had received the message too. As the evening wore on, Marcus played his part, smiled at jokes, discussed trade agreements, and praised Vorthok culture. But inside, his mind was racing. The woman in the corner never looked at them again. She stood perfectly still, like a beautiful statue. But Marcus knew she was listening to every word, watching every movement, waiting for her chance. As the formal dinner ended, the guests began to leave. Kallax approached Marcus one more time. "I hope you enjoyed meeting my prize," he said. "Perhaps on your next visit I will have acquired more of her kind. They're becoming quite popular among collectors." "More of her kind?" Marcus asked. Yes, there are several promising raids planned. Your species may be primitive, but you make excellent servants once properly trained." Marcus smiled and shook Kallax's hand. "I look forward to our future meetings." As they walked toward their ship, Dr. Williams whispered, "Captain, we can't leave her there." "I know," Marcus replied quietly. Commander Hayes moved closer. "It would be a diplomatic incident. We could start a war." Marcus stopped walking and turned to look back at the palace. Through a window, he could see the golden hall where they had spent the evening. Somewhere in there, a human woman was trapped in silk and chains, treated like a pet by aliens who thought they were better than her. "Some things are worth fighting for," Marcus said. Lieutenant Torres smiled grimly. "What are your orders, Captain?" Marcus looked at his team. These were good people, loyal and brave. They would follow him anywhere, even into danger. "Now we're not leaving this world without her," he said. "Start planning." As they boarded their ship, Marcus took one last look at the palace. Tomorrow, they would return for the diplomatic meetings. But tonight, they would plan a rescue that could change everything. In the palace. The woman in silken chains stood alone in her corner. But for the first time in months, she was not thinking about survival. She was thinking about escape. Part 2. The investigation. Marcus could not sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the woman's face. Her brown eyes haunted him. He walked around his ship thinking and planning. Lieutenant Torres found him in the command room at 3 in the morning. She was holding a small data pad and looked excited. "Captain, I have been working on something," she said quietly. The message she passed to me. Marcus sat up straight. What did it say? Torres showed him the data pad. On the screen were strange symbols drawn in a shaky hand. "At first I thought it was just random marks," Torres said. "But then I realized something. These are not Vorthok symbols. They're human." "Human?" "Yes, sir. Old Earth symbols. Mathematical codes we used in the military academy." She drew them very quickly, but I remember this system. We learned it in survival training. Torres touched the screen, and the symbols changed into words. Sarah Mitchell, New Geneva Colony. 12 others. Here, help us. Marcus stared at the message. 12 others. That is what it says, sir. There are 13 humans in that palace. She is not alone. Marcus stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the lights of the Vorthok city. It looked peaceful and beautiful. But now he knew the truth hidden inside those walls. "Where are the others?" he asked. "I do not know, sir, but if we are going to help them, we need more information." Marcus nodded. "Wake the team. We have work to do." 2 hours later, the team sat around the meeting table. Dr. Williams looked tired but alert. Commander Hayes had his weapons ready. Torres had her computer equipment spread across the table. "Our mission has changed," Marcus said. "We came here to make trade agreements. Now we are planning a rescue operation." 13 people, Dr. Williams said softly. 13 humans being kept as pets. "It is worse than that," Commander Hayes added. "Kelleck said there are more raids planned. This is not just about these 13 people. This is about our entire species." Marcus nodded. "That is why we need to be smart about this. We cannot just attack the palace. We need information first." "What kind of information?" Torres asked. "Everything. Where are the other humans kept? How many guards are there? What are the security systems? How do we get them out without starting a war?" Torres smiled. "Can help with that, sir. But I will need to get back inside the palace." "How?" The diplomatic meetings continue today. "While you talk with their leaders, I can explore the palace. My equipment can hack into their computer systems." Dr. Williams looked worried. "That sounds dangerous. If they catch you, ... They will not catch me," Torres said confidently. "I am very good at my job." Marcus thought about it. It was risky, but they needed information. "What about the woman? ... Sarah. Can you contact her again?" "Maybe if I can get close to her during the meetings, do it, but be careful." Glax suspects anything, he might hurt her. Thou. 3 hours later, they returned to the palace. This time, Marcus knew what to look for. He watched the guards, counted the weapons, and memorized the layout of the rooms. The morning meeting was in a smaller room than the night before. Only the most important Vorthok nobles were there. Kelleck sat at the end of the table looking bored. "Today we discussed technology sharing," Ambassador Zethric said. "We offer you our advanced weapons in exchange for your mining rights on 3 worlds." Marcus pretended to listen, but his mind was elsewhere. Where was Sarah? Where were the other humans? Then he saw her. She entered the room carrying a tray of drinks. She moved like a ghost, silent and careful. Her eyes were down, looking at nothing. But Marcus noticed something different about her today. Her dress was the same blue silk, but there were small stains on it. Her hair was not as neat as before. There was a small cut on her left hand. Someone had hurt her last night. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. He forced himself to stay calm and keep talking about trade agreements. Sarah served drinks to all the nobles. When she reached Marcus, she moved very slowly. She placed the glass on the table. Her finger touched his hand for just a second. The touch was cold, but it carried a message. Marcus felt something small and hard pressed into his palm. A data chip. Marcus closed his hand around it and continued talking. Sarah finished serving drinks and left the room. Kalax had not even looked at her. "Your species learns quickly, Zethrix," said. "Perhaps we can find more ways to work together." "I hope so," Marcus replied. "We are always interested in learning from our friends." The meeting continued for 2 hours. Marcus discussed mining rights and technology transfers, but all the time, the data chip burned in his pocket like a hot coal. When the meeting ended, Marcus found Torres in the hallway. She was pretending to admire a painting on the wall. "Any luck?" he asked quietly. "Some. I found their security room. Their computers are old, but well protected. I need more time to break in." Marcus showed her the data chip. "Sarah gave me this." Torres's eyes went wide. She made contact again. "That's very dangerous for her, I know. But she is taking the risk anyway. That tells me something." "What?" "She has a plan, and she needs our help to make it work." They returned to their ship that afternoon. Torres immediately plugged the data chip into her computer. What she found made everyone gather around the screen. The chip contained maps. Hand-drawn maps of the palace showing rooms that tourists never saw. Hidden passages, guard posts. Most importantly, locations marked with small human figures. "She has been busy," Dr. Williams said with amazement. "Look at this." Torres pointed to different areas on the map. "The other humans are kept in 3 different buildings. Some are in the main palace, some are in the servants' quarters, and some are in what looks like a laboratory." "Laboratory?" Commander Hayes asked. "Yes. This building here. It is separate from the main palace, heavily guarded." Marcus studied the maps. Sarah had drawn them with incredible detail. She had marked guard rotations, camera positions, and weak points in the security system. "She's not just a victim," he said. "She is a spy." "A very good one," Torres agreed. "These maps are better than anything our intelligence service could produce." Dr. Williams pointed to some writing on the edge of the map. "What does this say?" Torres read the small, careful handwriting. "Kalax office, 3rd floor evidence. Files, proof of raids." "She wants us to find evidence," Marcus realized. "Evidence of what?" "Of the raids on human colonies. If we can prove the Vorthok are attacking our worlds, we can justify a rescue mission." Commander Hayes nodded slowly. "It would not be a diplomatic incident. It would be a military response to an act of war." That evening, Marcus called Earth Command on the secure communication system. The conversation was short and serious. "Understood, Captain Chen," said Admiral Morrison from Earth. "If you can prove the Vorthok are raiding our colonies, you have full authority to take action." "What kind of action, sir?" "Whatever is necessary to bring our people home." After the communication ended, Marcus gathered his team again. "Tomorrow, we go back to the palace," he said. "Torres, you hack their computers and find the evidence. Hayes, you prepare our weapon systems. Williams, you study these maps and find the best escape routes." "What about you, sir?" Torres asked. "I am going to have another conversation with Lord Kellex. I want to learn more about his collection." "That sounds dangerous," Dr. Williams said. Marcus smiled grimly. "Not as dangerous as what Sarah is doing. She is risking her life to help us save the others. The least we can do is match her courage." That night, Marcus dreamed of brown eyes and silk chains. But this time, the eyes were not pleading for help. They were planning for war in the palace. Sarah sat alone in her small room.
Yes.
It was not really a room, more like a cage with expensive furniture. But tonight, she was not thinking about her prison. She was thinking about the human ship in orbit above them. She was thinking about Captain Chen and his team. She was thinking about the 12 other humans trapped in this nightmare with her. Tomorrow would be dangerous. If Kalax discovered what she was doing, he would punish her terribly. But she had been punished before and survived. What mattered now was hope. For the first time in 8 months, she had hope. Help was coming. Sarah touched the small device hidden in her hair. was a communication transmitter she had built from stolen palace equipment. Tomorrow, she would use it to contact the other human prisoners. It was time to start fighting back. Part 3. The truth revealed the next morning. Marcus returned to the palace with his team. But this time, they were not just diplomats. They were soldiers on a secret mission. Torres carried her hacking equipment hidden in a diplomatic bag.
Commander.
Hayes wore his dress uniform, but Marcus knew he had weapons concealed underneath. Dr. Williams looked nervous, but he was ready to help. Remember, Marcus told them as they walked toward the palace entrance. Act normal. We are here for trade talks, nothing else. But Marcus felt his heart beating fast. Today, they would learn the full truth about what the Vorthok were doing to humans. Ambassador Zethrix met them at the entrance. He seemed happy and relaxed. Welcome back, Captain Chen. Today, we will finalize our trade agreement. Lord Kellex is very excited to show you more of his collection. Marcus smiled. I'm looking forward to it. We're led to Kallax's private office on the 3rd floor. The room was large and filled with strange objects from different worlds. But Marcus was not interested in alien art. He was looking for evidence. Please, sit, Kellex said, pointing to comfortable chairs. Would you like some refreshments? I can have my pet bring us something. That would be nice, Marcus said. Kellex pressed a button on his desk. A few minutes later, Sarah entered the room. She carried a tray with drinks and small cakes. Her movements were careful and controlled, but Marcus noticed something different. Her eyes were alert. She was listening to every word. As she served the drinks, Sarah moved behind Kallax's desk. She pretended to clean some dust, but Marcus saw her fingers touch something on the computer keyboard. She was helping Torres hack into the system. My pet is very well trained, Kellex said proudly. She never makes mistakes anymore. How long have you had her? Dr. Williams asked. 8 months. She came from a raid on New Geneva Colony. Very successful operation. We collected 14 specimens from that world. Marcus felt his blood turn cold. 14? But you said she was alone? Kallax laughed. Oh no, she is not alone, but one of them died during transport. Heart, I think. The others are kept in different locations. Sarah's hand shook slightly as she set down a glass. But she kept working, her fingers moving quickly over hidden parts of Kallax's computer. Where are the others? Marcus asked, trying to sound casual. Some are in the servant quarters. Others are in my research facility. I am studying human behavior, you see. How they respond to different types of conditioning. Conditioning. Dr. Williams sounded sick. Yes, it is fascinating work. Humans are more complex than most species. They can be broken, but it takes special techniques. Kallax opened a drawer in his desk and pulled out a datapad. The screen showed video recordings of humans in cages. Look at this, he said excitedly. This male human tried to escape 6 times. Each time, we punished him. Now watch. The video showed a young man sitting in a small room. When a Vorthok guard entered, the man immediately knelt and put his head down. Perfect submission, Kallax said. It took 3 months, but we achieved complete obedience. Marcus gripped his chair arms tightly. The man in the video looked familiar. He had seen that face before in Earth Colonial files. It was James Parker, a mining engineer from New Geneva. He had a wife and 2 children on Earth. Remarkable, Marcus said, forcing his voice to stay calm. Sarah finished her cleaning and bowed to Kallax. But as she walked past Marcus, she whispered something so quietly that only he could hear. Tonight, be ready. Then she left the room. She speaks sometimes, Kallax said. Not often, but when she does, it is usually to beg for mercy. Quite amusing. Marcus wanted to grab Kallax and throw him out the window, but he controlled himself. They needed more information first. You mentioned research, he said. What kind of research? Kallax's eyes lit up. Ah, you are interested in science, excellent. Come, let me show you something special. He led them out of the office and down a long hallway. They passed through several security doors. each one requiring Kallax's personal code. Torres walked behind them, her eyes recording everything. Every camera position, every guard post, every weakness in their security. They reached a large room filled with computers and monitoring equipment. On the walls were screens showing different locations throughout the palace. "This is my research," Center Kallax said proudly. "From here, I can watch all my specimens at any time." Marcus looked at the screens. Each one showed a different human in a different location. Some were working in gardens, others were cleaning rooms. One screen showed 3 humans sitting in what looked like a prison cell. They all came from human colonies. Commander Hayes asked. "Yes. We have raided 7 colonies in the past year. Very productive operations." Marcus felt the world spin around him. 7 colonies, hundreds of people. "Where are these colonies?" he asked. Kallax walked to a large star map on the wall. Red marks showed the locations of destroyed human settlements. "Here, here, and here," he said, pointing to different systems. "Your species builds colonies in very predictable patterns. It makes them easy to find." Torres stepped closer to look at the map. Marcus saw her taking pictures with a hidden camera. "The raids are quite profitable," Kallax continued. "We sell some specimens to other collectors. To others we keep for research. The young ones adapt fastest to conditioning." "Young ones?" Dr. Williams asked. "Yes, children learn quickly. We have several in the research facility. They make excellent subjects for behavioral studies." Marcus had heard enough. These aliens were not just slave traders. They were monsters. But he needed more evidence. Evidence that would justify what he was planning to do. "This is all very impressive," he said. "But how do you plan these raids? Surely human defenses are improving." Kallax smiled and walked to his personal computer. "We have excellent intelligence. Watch this." The screen showed detailed maps of human colony worlds, military positions, population centers, resource locations, everything an enemy would need for a successful attack. "How do you get this information?" Marcus asked. "You have sources," Kallax said mysteriously. "Some humans are willing to betray their own species for the right price. Human traders." Marcus felt sick, but then Kallax made a mistake. He opened a file that showed planned future raids. The list included 15 more human colonies, including some very close to Earth. "These will be our next targets," Kallax said. "The raids are scheduled to begin next week." Torres stepped forward quickly and pointed at the screen. "What is that location there?" "Ah, that is a special target. New Shanghai colony. Very large population. We expect to collect over 200 specimens from that raid alone." Marcus knew New Shanghai. It was home to 50,000 people. Men, women, children, families. All of them marked for slavery or death. "When?" he asked. 3 days from now. The fleet has already departed." Marcus realized they were not just rescuing 13 people from this palace. They were trying to prevent a massacre. The tour continued for another hour. Kallax showed them laboratories where humans were experimented on. He showed them training facilities where people were taught to be slaves. He showed them storage areas where human belongings were kept as trophies. When they finally returned to Kallax's office, Marcus felt like he had seen hell itself. "I hope you found our tour educational," Kallax said. "Perhaps Earth would be interested in purchasing some specimens? We offer excellent prices for bulk sales." "I will discuss it with my superiors," Marcus said. They left the palace as the sun was setting. None of them spoke until they were safely back on their ship. Captain Torres said finally, "Hey, I got everything. Computer files, security codes, communication, frequencies. But sir, ... what? The new Shanghai raid. If it succeeds, those people will end up like Sarah and the others." Marcus sat down heavily in his command chair. 50,000 people, children playing in parks, families having dinner together, all of them about to be attacked by alien slavers. "How long until the raid fleet reaches New Shanghai?" he asked. Torres checked her data. 2 days, 18 hours, and how long to get a warning message to Earth? Days minimum. Too slow. Commander Hayes stepped forward. "Captain, We have to stop this ourselves. How? We have one ship. They have a fleet. We have something they do not expect, Dr. Williams said quietly. We have Sarah, and she has a plan. As if summoned by his words, Marcus's communication system beeped. An incoming message on an encrypted frequency. The voice that came through the speakers was weak, but determined. It was Sarah, Captain Chen. Can you hear me? Yes, Marcus replied. How are you contacting us? I built a transmitter from Palace equipment. I do not have much time before they detect it. Listen carefully. We are listening. I know about the new Shanghai raid. I accessed Calax's files weeks ago. I have been waiting for someone like you to arrive. What do you need us to do? I need you to be ready tomorrow night. I am going to free the others, but we will need transport off this world quickly. Sarah, there are 13 of you. And there are guards, security systems. Ooh. Captain, her voice was stronger now. You do not understand. We are not just victims. Anymore? We have been planning this for months. Tomorrow night, we take back our freedom. The transmission ended. Marcus looked at his team. They were scared but determined. Well, he said finally, I guess we are going to war. Part 4. The escape the next evening came slowly. Marcus and his team spent the day preparing their ship for battle and rescue. They checked weapons, studied Sarah's maps, and planned escape routes. Remember, Marcus told his team as they prepared? To leave the ship. We are still diplomats until Sarah gives us the signal. After that, we fight. Torres carried her hacking equipment and extra weapons. Commander Hayes wore his armor under his diplomatic clothes. Dr. Williams had medical supplies. Ready for the rescued humans, they returned to the palace for what Calax thought was a final celebration dinner. The alien noble was in a very good mood. Tonight we celebrate our new friendship, Calax said as they entered the Great Hall. Tomorrow, your ship will carry the first trade goods back to Earth. Marcus smiled and nodded, but his eyes were searching. The room, where was Sarah? Where were the guards? How many weapons could he see? The hall was filled with Vorthak nobles, just like the first night. Music played, aliens talked and laughed, and servants moved between the tables carrying food and drinks. But tonight was different. Tonight, Marcus was ready for war. Sarah appeared after an hour, carrying her usual tray of drinks. But something had changed about her. She moved differently. Her head was up, her eyes were alert, and there was no fear in her face. She looked like a soldier. As she served drinks to the guests, Marcus noticed other things. Some of the servants moving through the hall looked human. They moved carefully, quietly, but their eyes were watching everything. The other prisoners, they were all here pretending to work while they prepared to fight. Sarah reached Marcus's table last. As she set down his drink, she whispered one word, midnight. Then she moved away, continuing her work. But Marcus saw her nod slightly to a young man cleaning tables across the room. The man nodded back and moved toward the kitchen. It was starting at 11:30. The formal dinner ended. Most of the guests began to leave, but Kellex invited Marcus and his team to his private study for special drinks. I have something very rare to show you, Kellex said as they walked through the palace. Corridors. A bottle of wine from the first human colony we raided? I have been saving it for a special occasion. They reached Calax's study. The room was warm and comfortable, filled with stolen treasures from a dozen worlds. Calax poured wine into crystal glasses. 2 new friendships, he said, raising his glass. To justice, Marcus replied quietly. Calax did not understand the human words, but he smiled and drank. At exactly midnight, the lights went out. Emergency lighting came on a few seconds later, casting strange red shadows through the room. Looked confused and angry. What is happening? He demanded his communication device beeped with urgent messages. Vorthok voices spoke rapidly in their own language, reporting problems throughout the palace. Security breach in the servant quarters.
Unknown.
Persons in the research facility. Multiple alarms in the detention areas. Calax's face turned dark with rage. My specimens are escaping. He reached for a weapon on his desk, but Commander Hayes was faster. The human soldier grabbed Kallax's arm and twisted it behind his back. Nobody. Move, Hayes said calmly. You cannot do this. Kallax screamed. I am a noble of the Vorthok Empire. You will start a war. The war already started, Marcus said. 8 months ago, when you began attacking our colonies, Torres was working at Kallax's computer, downloading files and sending data to their ship. Captain, she said, I am getting reports from all over the palace. The humans are fighting back. They have taken control of 3 buildings. Dr. Williams stood by the window, watching the courtyard below. I can see people running. Some are guards, but some look like humans. How many guards? Marcus asked. Hard to tell in the darkness. Maybe 50 or 60. And how many humans? 13 plus us? Marcus did his math. 16 humans against 60 alien guards.
Not good odds, but...
They had advantages. They knew the palace layout. They had planned this carefully, and they were fighting for their freedom. His communication device crackled with a familiar voice. It was Sarah. Captain Chen, can you hear me? Yes. What is your status? We've freed everyone from the detention areas. James Parker and 3 others are securing the research facility. Maria Santos and 2 others are controlling the servant quarters. I am in the main computer room with the rest. Casualties. 2 of ours are injured, but not badly. We have killed or captured 12 guards. Marcus was amazed. His people had been prisoners for months, but they were fighting like trained soldiers. What do you need from us? He asked. Can you reach? The communication center? 'Tis on the 2nd floor, east wing. We need to stop them from calling for help. On our way, Marcus turned to his team. Hayes, bring Kallax. You might need him as a hostage. Torres, grab that computer data. Williams, stay close. They left the study and moved through the dark corridors. Red emergency lights made everything look like a scene from hell. Alarms were ringing everywhere. They met their first group of Vorthok guards at the main stairway. 6 tall aliens with energy weapons, moving toward the servant quarters. Stop, one guard shouted in broken English. You are under arrest. Commander Hayes did not hesitate. He pushed Kallax forward as a shield and opened fire with his hidden weapon. The fight lasted less than 30 seconds. When it was over, 6 alien guards lay dead on the marble floor. I thought you were diplomats, Kallax said, his voice shaking. With fear, we are, Marcus replied. But we are also human. They reached the communication center and found it guarded by 8 more Vorthok soldiers. This fight was harder. The aliens had better positions and more weapons, but they made one mistake. They thought humans would fight like other species, carefully, defensively, trying to avoid casualties. Instead, Marcus and his team attacked like wild animals. They used furniture as shields, threw alien artifacts as weapons, and fought with a fury that surprised their enemies. Dr. Williams, who had never been in combat before, grabbed a heavy statue and used it to knock out 2 guards. Torres disabled the communication equipment while fighting off 3 aliens at the same time. When the battle ended, the communication center was destroyed and they controlled the 2nd floor. Sarah, Marcus called on his radio. Communications are down. They cannot call for help. Excellent. We have secured the research facility and found something important.
At the location of the new Shanghai raid fleet. And Captain, we can stop them?
The Vorthok fleet uses automated navigation systems. If we can access their main computer, we can send them false orders, make them turn around. Marcus felt hope rise in his chest. Where is the main computer? In Kallax's private vault below? His office? But it is heavily protected. Marcus looked at Kallax, who was tied up and guarded by Hayes. Lord Kallax, you are going to help us save 50,000 human lives. Never, Kallax spat. I will die before I help you. That can be arranged, Hayes said coldly. Pressing his weapon against Kallax's head, the alien noble's courage disappeared. Quickly. Wait, what do you want me to do? Open your vault. Give us access to the fleet control systems. If I do that, you will let me live. Marcus thought about all the humans who had died because of this creature. All the families destroyed. All the children turned into slaves. Maybe, he said finally, They fought their way back to Calax's office, meeting resistance at every corridor. But the palace guards were confused and disorganized. They had never faced an enemy who fought from inside their own stronghold. The vault was hidden behind a painting in Calax's office. It required his handprint, and I scanned to open. "Do it," Marcus ordered. "My government will destroy your entire species for this," Kellic said as he opened the vault. "Your government creates slaves from children," Dr. Williams replied. "I think we will take our chances." Inside the vault was the master computer that controlled all Vorthok military operations in this sector. Torres went to work immediately, her fingers flying over the alien controls. "I am in," she said after 10 minutes. "I can see the new Shanghai fleet. 12 ships, 18 hours from target. Can you stop them?" "Better than that. I can send them to a system with no inhabited worlds. By the time they figure out the mistake, we will have warned Earth." Torres typed rapidly. "Could see the Vorthok fleet changing course, turning away from New Shanghai." "Done," she said. 50,000 people will live because of what we did tonight." Sarah's voice came over the radio again. "Captain, we need to leave. Palace reinforcements are coming from the city. We have maybe 20 minutes. Where do we meet? The roof landing pad? We are bringing some special cargo with us." "What cargo?" "Of Calax's research files. Every raid he planned, every human colony he targeted, every crime he committed. Earth Command will want to see this." Marcus smiled. Sarah had not just planned an escape. She had planned to bring evidence that would justify war against the Vorthok Empire. They fought their way to the roof, carrying Calax and the stolen data. The battle through the palace corridors was fierce, but the humans were winning. Aliens, who thought of humans as weak pets, learned a terrible truth that night. When humans fought for their freedom, they became the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. On the roof, Marcus saw all 13 rescued humans for the first time. They looked thin and scared, but their eyes burned with determination. Sarah stood among them like a general among. Part 5. The Reckoning 2 weeks later. Sarah Mitchell stood before the Galactic Council on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. She wore a simple blue dress, not silk this time, but strong earth cotton. No chains bound her wrists. No fear clouded. Her eyes behind her sat the other 12 rescued humans. They had all volunteered to testify about their experiences. Next to them sat Captain Chen and his diplomatic team, now representing Earth in its first major galactic crisis. Across the Great Chamber, the Vorthok delegation looked nervous. Their emperor had come personally to defend his empire, but Sarah could see the worry in his large black eyes. "The human representative may begin," announced Chancellor Vex, insectoid leader of the Galactic Council. Sarah walked to the center of the chamber. Around her, representatives from 47 different species watched and waited. This was her moment to speak for all enslaved beings in the galaxy. "Honored members of the Council," she began, her voice clear and strong. "My name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell. 8 months ago, I was a scientist on New Geneva Colony. I had laboratory students, a life full of hope and discovery." She paused and looked directly at the Vorthok Emperor. "Then the Vorthok came. They destroyed our cities, killed our defenders, and took the survivors as slaves. For 8 months, I was kept as a pet by Lord Calax. I was chained, tortured, and treated like an animal." Murmurs ran through the chamber. Several alien representatives. Low OKED shocked. "But I did not break," Sarah continued. "And neither did my fellow humans. We planned, we learned, and we waited for our chance to fight back." She activated a holographic display that showed the evidence they had gathered. Images of human prisoners, documents detailing the raids, communication records proving the conspiracy. "The Vorthok Empire has destroyed 7 human colonies," she said. "They have enslaved over 300 humans. They were planning to attack 15 more colonies, including one with 50,000 innocent people." The Vorthok Emperor stood up angrily. "These are lies. Humans are a primitive species. They attack us, and we defend ourselves." Sarah smiled coldly. Then explain this. The hologram showed Lord Kellogg's own recordings, videos of humans being tortured and trained, files showing planned raids on peaceful colonies, communications with slave traders from other species. These are your own records, Sarah said. Your own leader's voice. Kellogg's was proud of his work, documented everything. The chamber fell silent. The evidence was overwhelming. Captain Chen stood up. The human government tried diplomacy first. We sent ambassadors to make peace. Instead, we discovered our people being sold as pets. Chancellor Vex looked at the Vorthok Emperor. What is your response to this evidence? The Emperor's voice was weak. Kellogg's acted without authority. This was not official government policy. Lara laughed, but there was no humor in it. Kellogg's reported directly to you. We have the communication logs. You personally approved every raid. She showed more evidence. Messages between Kellogg's and the Emperor, payment records for slave sales, orders for more raids. You did not just know about the slavery, Sarah said. You profited from it. The Emperor sat down heavily. Around the chamber, alien representatives were talking angrily among themselves. Chancellor Vex called for order. The council will now hear from other witnesses. One by one, the rescued humans told their stories. James Parker described watching his friends die during transport. Maria Santos talked about the experiments done on children. David Kim showed scars from torture devices. Each story was worse than the last. By the end, several alien representatives were openly weeping. The council has heard enough, Chancellor Vex announced. We will vote on the human petition. The petition was simple. Earth wanted 3 things: official recognition as a galactic species, the right to defend their colonies, and justice for the crimes committed against them. The vote was 45 in favor, 2 against. Only the Vorthok and their closest allies voted no. The petition is approved, Chancellor Vex said. Earth is now a recognized member of the galactic community. The Vorthok Empire will pay reparations and face trial for crimes against sentient beings. But the Vorthok Emperor was not finished. Stood up, his face twisted with rage. You think you have one? He snarled at Sarah. Humans are still weak, still primitive. We will destroy every one of your worlds. Sarah walked closer to him. Despite being half his height, she seemed to tower over the alien emperor. Let me tell you something about humans, she said quietly. You had me in chains for 8 months. You broke my bones, scarred my mind, and tried to destroy my spirit. But you could not make me forget who I was. She looked around the chamber, speaking to all the assembled aliens. Humans do not just survive. We remember, we learn, we adapt. And we never, ever abandon our own. She turned back to the Emperor. You wanted to make us slaves? Instead, you taught us that we need to be stronger. You wanted to break us. Instead, you forged us into something harder than diamond. Captain Chen stepped forward. Earth has already dispatched defensive fleets to protect our remaining colonies. Any Vorthok ship that approaches human space will be considered hostile. Furthermore, Sarah added, we are not the only species you have enslaved. The evidence we gathered shows raids on 12 different worlds. We will be sharing that information with their governments. The Emperor's face went pale. If 12 species united against the Vorthok, his empire would not survive. This is not over, he whispered. Yes, it is, Sarah replied. Your time as predators is finished. The galaxy has seen what you really are. 3 months later, Sarah stood on the observation deck of Earth's newest space station. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see the construction yards where humanity's first real warships were being built. Captain Chen joined her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Any regrets? He asked. Sarah thought about the question. The war crimes trials were ongoing. The Vorthok Empire was collapsing as their slave trading was exposed. Dozens of species were demanding justice for centuries of abuse. No, she said finally. Someone had to speak for the victims. Someone had to say, this ends now. The galaxy is a more dangerous place because of what we did, Chen said. Was already dangerous, Sarah replied. We just made it dangerous for the right people. They watched the shipyards in comfortable silence. Earth's children were coming home from the stars, but they were not coming home empty-handed. They brought knowledge, allies, and the determination to protect their species. "What will you do now?" Chen asked. Sarah smiled. "I am going back to science, but not the same kind as before. I am designing new technologies to detect slave raids, communication systems to warn colonies, medical treatments for trauma victims. Still, helping people. Always helping people. That is what humans do." A communication alert chimed on Chen's datapad. He read the message and smiled. "Good news?" Sarah asked. "The best. The Andorian Republic wants to form an alliance with Earth. They were impressed by how we handled the Vorthok situation. More friends in the galaxy. That is good." "Yes." "And Sarah, what?" "The Andorians specifically requested you as Earth's ambassador to their world. They said they want to learn from someone who understands both suffering and strength." Sarah looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there were worlds full of people who needed help. People who were enslaved, oppressed, or forgotten. "Leave?" she asked. Chen laughed. "I thought you might say that. Your ship is ready whenever you are." Sarah finished her coffee and headed toward the docking bay. She had work to do. Behind her, the Earth shipyards continued their construction. Humanity was building ships, training crews, and preparing for whatever threats might come. But they were also doing something more important. They were building hope. Throughout the galaxy, on worlds where slavery had seemed eternal, people looked up at the stars and whispered a new word: human. It meant many things to many species. To some, it meant dangerous. To others, it meant ally. But to the enslaved, the oppressed, and the forgotten, it meant something else entirely. It meant hope. And in the deepest dungeons of the cruelest, masters, slaves would whisper to each other, "The humans are coming. They never leave their own behind." Sarah Mitchell had been kept in chains as an object. Her eyes had silently begged, "Please, take me with you." Now she carried those same eyes to every corner of the galaxy, and they no longer begged. They promised.